Welcome to the Music Reel. I'm your host, Nicola Burton. I am thrilled to be speaking with American celebration artist Jeanne Fleming, who is the artistic and the producing director for the New York Halloween Parade. Jeanne, thank you for joining me today. How are you going?
Oh, I'm doing very well considering the circumstances, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, look, considering the circumstances indeed. So one of the highlights for me when I go to New York every year is I volunteer at your parade. Now, it would have been, the 47th annual parade this year, but obviously 2020 has had plans that just don't work for any of us this year. So I guess the biggest question with all the things you've had to do this week, what was it like making that call to cancel this year's parade?
It's really hard because this year was a spectacular year. It was a Saturday night. It was a full moon, a blue moon. Billy Porter was our grand marshal, and it was right before the election. So it was slated to be probably the greatest parade maybe ever. So it was very, very hard to cancel it, but there really was no choice. I mean, when you get down to it, we love our people. We love everyone in this parade, and we just couldn't take the risk that anyone would get sick or anything would happen to them if they came out. And that was decided before, of course, the mayor's office and the governor's instructions are no gatherings larger than 50. So we really couldn't do it, but we decided that we wanted to make the decision on our own and let our people know that we did this because we love them.
I cannot imagine a socially distanced Halloween parade. It's just impossible. You've
and
done
the funny thing is, of course, everyone wears masks already in the parade. So we thought maybe they'd make an exception for us, but not really.
Because I know that Thanksgiving parade they're still saying that it's happening. Is that right?
No, it was canceled yesterday.
I was going to say, how could that happen? So, wow, New York City without parade.
They felt differently than we did. They felt as if they wanted to wait for the city to cancel, and so they did, whereas we felt we wanted to make our statement first.
See, in Australia, we don't have parades. I think we've got Anzac Day, which is very solemn. So for us Aussies coming to New York, it's like this colour and music, and you actually feel like you're a part of the city. So it's just this all-inclusive celebration. So, I mean, you've got so many parades that happen during the year. How's everyone feeling about next year?
I think everyone is really in this wait and see mode. I don't think anyone has any idea what's going to happen next. I wake up every morning and just sort of say, okay, what's next? It changes from day to day. I know that the theater season is thinking to get underway sometime in March or April, so we're a ways past that. We thought we were a ways past a lot of things, and we weren't. And now Disney just canceled Christmas. So, yes, and so there's where we are. And then we go into winter, and not a lot happens during the winter, and then I think we'll just see what happens as spring comes. But I don't think anyone knows what's happening with this virus at all, and we just have to respond as we go along.
That's what 2020 has taught us. It's like we're learning to live in the moment now. We're not planning ahead like we normally used to.
No,
it's like a new thing. Look, I want to talk about your parade because I think that it's incredibly iconic. For me, I mean, I'm an event producer in Australia, and I could not believe your marshals come back year after year after year after year. They are so generous and kind. Look, it's total chaos, right? But they are so calm, sorting everything out. It was amazing to see. How do you feel about those incredible people that come back year after year? Like people like David from Arizona, just every year. It's amazing.
Yes, well, I adore them. They make it possible for me. I mean, what happens to me is when I always tell people when I arrive the night of the parade, I'm useless. Everybody else is in charge. I just do interviews and sort of smile, and they do it. They're extraordinary stage managers, a lot of them. This parade is run very differently from any other parade in that it doesn't line up on streets and just sort of move out street after street. It's called by a professional stage manager who says, one from here, one from there, one from there, one from here. And he does it according to the feel of the parade, of what's happening at that moment, how the police are feeling, hearing reports of, because we send out about, well, there's usually on a Saturday night, there'll be around 80,000 people. So the street fills up 10 times during the course of the night. So we have to keep moving it out so others can come in from the end. And then we have to also be sure that there's enough music, because music is what keeps the parade safe. There has to be enough music, and everything has to be planned also for certain things to get on television. So it's kind of this, I don't know. I mean, we have such a feel for it. This is my 40th year doing the parade. Most of the marshals that I work with have been with me for 25 or 30 years. So, yeah, in fact, one of my old-time marshals moved to Australia.
Oh, which one was that?
Larry Nussbaum. I don't think you would have known him.
I don't think I met him. No. Wow.
Yeah, many years ago.
He must be missing it, because there's something about that parade. I think one of my best moments in 2010, I had my 19-year-old son with me, and we were traveling into the area where you've got the crowd control and the floats are sort of entering. And as you said, it's very intuitive. So I watched him become a man that night. It was this pivotal experience. He was so exhilarated at the end of it. So I'm curious to hear about your volunteer program, because it's incredible. What kind of feedback and information have you received from volunteers over the years about similar life-changing experiences at your parade?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I've heard so many stories, over the years. It's interesting from the volunteers, I guess. Gosh, that's a very interesting question. I mean, everyone keeps coming back. So I think that's probably a testimony to them. But of course, well, that's a really interesting question. Can I tell you even one particular story about a volunteer? I mean, the kinds of things that happen to people are so different year to year. I mean, I'm not thinking of a story right now that I can tell you, but your story is one of them. I guess that's one of the stories.
I'm sure there's probably a website somewhere where people have all loaded up their volunteer stories.
Well, yes, we have. The person who would know those stories better than me is Grace Schultz, who's my volunteer coordinator. Yeah. She would know all the stories. And of course, we're getting a lot of stories now, people telling us, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is the way I've spent Halloween forever. And I don't know what we're going to do this night. And because they come in groups, they come in, friends gather together and they all do a set of puppets, or they all do a particular band. So for them, it's, they're sort of lost. They don't know what they're going to do.
It's such an important part of everyone's year. I met people that were recovering from cancer, like people that had been on Wall Street for cancer, and then they were like, I've done this every year for the last 5 years, and it's been part of my recovery. I mean, who gets to hear stories like that? That's incredible, Jeannie. It's incredible.
That is definitely true. And there's one person, Lenny Negrin, who this was the biggest event for his wife and his family for years and years, and she died of cancer. And the next year, they came to celebrate her in the parade. They carried the dancing skeletons, and they have done it every year since. I think it's about 4 years now. Yes, what will they do? When I start to think about all the individuals, who for them, it's the most important time of the year. I just don't know what to say. We expect that there'll be a lot of people come out on the street that night. We expect the village will be full of people, but we personally cannot condone any gathering. So our plan is we're going to give a treat to the people who come out. I can't tell you what it is, because if we tell what it is, then a crowd will gather. So we can't say what it is, but there will be something that happens that keeps the spirit of Halloween in the village in a big way. We're not doing anything virtual, because we feel that that's not what the event is about. No. But this is something that will happen in the fresh air. It will be real, it will be meaningful, it will be big, and it's a secret.
But I was going to ask, is the spider still going to be hanging from the clock tower? But
Absolutely. Yes, the spider is going to come out at 7 o'clock, and he will be out the entire time during the normal course of the parade, which is about 4 or 5 hours. The spider will be there. Basil Twist will be up in the tower operating him. So that is something that we are saying, yes, that will happen. We feel for the kids of the village that we have to do that. But other things we can't talk about.
Well, I'll be curious to hear about it after it happens, because Halloween in New York would not be the same without that spider. It's, you know, it's like it's that iconic part of the whole spirit. And look, we don't necessarily celebrate Halloween over here, but people have started to like do trick-or-treating. Will America still be having trick-or-treating even with social distancing?
Okay, so that's a very good question that also leads into what I think is really happening right now here, which is no one knows enough about what's going on. Everyone is making their own rules. So some people, you go somewhere and they stay 20 feet away from you. Other people are more willing, if they're in what they consider to be a safe environment, even to take off their mask and generally be 5-6 feet apart. Everyone has a different idea. We did not even think about trick-or-treating until I was on a phone call with the mayor's office, when suddenly we realized it cannot be the same because people are not opening their doors. You're not allowed to have more than 2 people on an elevator. So how are children going to go into strange households or households opening to children? So we think probably there'll be some things that happen maybe outdoors, you know, where children can go to a park, and there'll be something that happens like that. But we're not expecting that there'll be a lot of the kind of trick-or-treating that usually happens in buildings, for example.
Who would have thought that that would ever happen? That is just crazy. But hey, this is 2020, isn't it? Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. It's so hard to know what it's going to be. Yeah, I don't know.
Jeanne, if our board
I know what we're doing is something that I think will make people feel very good, and it will honor all the people who've come to the parade for years and years and years. And it's all about New York, New Yorkers, because we have no tourists now.
That's right.
So this is very much thinking of New Yorkers in mind. So
that's what you guys do every year. You create this spectacle for New Yorkers and for people all over the world that come here. So that means I wouldn't expect anything else from you guys. So I'm really curious to see that will be. But look, when the borders open, I'll be back volunteering with you guys.
Very good.
Like work with those guys, those marshals who are incredible. They're so calm. Jeanne, thank you so much for talking to me. I really wanted to know how you guys were going, and good luck with this incredible surprise that you're coming up with. And just, you know, take heart that people all over the world love what you do. We're so grateful for the parade every year, and we can't wait till it comes back in full force. Jeanne Fleming, thank you for talking to me.
Yes, be well.